All right, what's up, what's up, what's up? All right, I cannot contain my excitement. We have a week left, and I'm also kind of excited that I can actually give all this information in one video, finally, of all 6 regions being reviewed. So in this video, we're going to be summarizing all 6 regions, why they ended up where they ended up, and kind of analyzing some of the data that we got from this. My name is Justin, also known as Shit Just Works, and if this is your first time on the channel, definitely consider subscribing. We got tons of Legends of Runeterra content, but most importantly, I know you're all here for a reason. And if you haven't followed along with the last 6 videos, you won't know the answer to this. If you're calculating the math in the descriptions and kind of putting this together like I did, who the first place winner essentially was of the top region, and it is probably not who you think. And I'm not gonna lie, I know that there's a ton of people out there that would probably disagree with a lot of this analysis, but I'm sticking to my guns, and I'm gonna try to explain why I'm doing that right now. So let's get started here. First, I just do want to mention the 6 other videos. So if you are just watching this channel for the first time, the 6 other videos are going to be in the description below for every region. They're about 15 minutes apiece, give or take. Those will go more in depth on every individual region. So definitely check those out if that's something you're interested in. I do also want to offer a disclaimer. My favorite region right now is Noxus. So yes, I might have a little bit of bias towards Noxus. They didn't place amazing in this ranking, so I like to think I tried to do this as unbiasedly as possible, but hey, you know, we can only be so self-aware, right? So with that said, let's get into the best of each category. All right, so this may not look the prettiest, and I know spreadsheets sometimes scare some people, but I am kind of an analytics guy, and obviously, anybody that's been playing card games for quite some time, as you know, it's very, very numbers based. You know, your percentage of drawing, you know, you're out, or just, 3 of each card in your deck. What's your percentage of drawing that card for a specific combo? There's a lot of numbers involved in card games. So we're going with the spreadsheet. Now, what I want to do first is go over the best of each category. So basically, which region got the best score in every category. So first up, we have aggro, and that was Shadow Isles. So I'm sure nobody's surprised with that. This is mainly because of the glorious Shark Chariot Ephemeral deck. It is aggro as all heck, and it was by far the best aggro deck of the closed beta. Next up is Control, and Control is obviously, again, this is pretty much a freebie. I guess you could argue Ionia is going to be Freljord, and Freljord just has all the tools possible to control. Frostbite is a awesome mechanic that can literally control the entire game, including battle. Ionia has Deny and a lot of stall options like heal, etc., plus Karma, being able to generate extra spells in your hand. But Freljord's control options, especially when considering their power cards, which we'll get to after, is just insane. They have way too many ways to control the board, control the battle phase, and control the entire game. All right, we are not at the point of who won just yet, but if you're liking everything so far, don't forget to subscribe, hit that sub button below, and if you like the video, hit the like button, helps out a ton. Appreciate the support, guys. Next is Combo, and Combo I gave to Noxus, so I thought really long and hard. I didn't want this to be like just a biased, I'm giving it to Noxus because I want it to happen. I honestly, truly think that Noxus is by far the best combo potential region in the game. I think we've yet to actually explore the possibilities of Noxus. To me, one of my favorite champions is also Vladimir, and in this game, and Vladimir, his ability just screams combo. I mean, to do 1 damage to all of your units, now you just want to go look through the game with anything that, triggers effects by doing damage. You can maybe pair it with Shadow Isles or something like that. So Shadow Isles got second, and rightfully so, because they also have a lot of combo capabilities with the aggro portion of the Ephemeral deck. So they're definitely up there as well. But again, I do think Noxus has the most potential with combo. Mid-range, we have Demacia. Again, I feel like this is a pretty easy one considering the whole Fiora strategy. It pretty much is a mid-range strategy. Spells all we gave to Shadow Isles, and this is a really tough category because you have Freljord and Ionia that are, again in the top 3 with this, and they all have really good non-burst spells. I think I decided to go with Freljord being the lower, mainly because Freljord's focus is on burst spells. They have so many burst spells. I think they don't deserve that higher score because they need that, that burst category essentially. Ionia does have Deny, but Shadow Isles just has so many, similar to Freljord, has so many power cards, and you can actually see the flip-flop there too with, they have the 5 in the power card category as well. So they're definitely on the heels of Freljord as far as that's concerned. But for the main spells like Ruination and stuff like that, they're getting the 6. Burst spells, like I just mentioned, is Freljord. I do think that one's kind of a no-brainer. They have a ton of good ones. Again, with Noxus getting second here, I think a lot of people would also argue that as well. I truly, honestly think that Noxus's burst spells are very good and very underrated. If you take a look at them over here, Elixir of Wrath is okay. I do like Elixir of Iron as well. Elixir of Wrath, you could argue, is better with it giving +3 attack, which seems very good. Brothers Bond is incredible for 2 cost. I believe it's played in that Draven deck as well, the Draven discard deck. And what I think, the 2 cards I think are super underrated are Transfusion and Might, which is really why I gave them the 5 out of 6. So we'll see if those end up doing well in the new metagame. But I think these are 2 enablers to a majority of Noxus's combo potential as well. Next up, we have Champions. That went to Ionia. We do have Followers going to Shadow Isles. And we do have the power cards going to Freljord. And again, with Freljord and Shadow Isles, it's definitely very close as far as the power cards and spells are concerned. Freljord, I think, personally ended up eking out Shadow Isles because of the versatility. I feel like Shadow Isles really only has a couple different deck types right now, of which only a couple of them are truly good, and those all pretty much rely around the same or similar strategy, whereas Freljord, I feel, is way more versatile. And you can see the losers in the categories. So for all of Freljord's awesomeness, it does have a shortcoming in aggro. Demacia had a double here with control and combo, getting the 1. Mid-range 1 goes to PNZ, and honestly, there's not much to be said about PNZ in this whole thing. They did not get a top category for anything, which is unfortunate. I do like the class. I do like the idea of going face with spells, like a burn deck, but they just don't quite have it right now. And I do love Teemo. Spells overall, Noxus got the 1. Burst spells goes to Shadow Isles, mainly because they don't even really have any. They only have 2, and they're not really crucial to the strategies that Shadow Isles has. They do get used in those ephemeral decks, but they would still probably be super good without those 2 burst spells. Champions goes to Noxus. I did get some feedback from people saying that Darius got shafted. I don't know. I think he's very vanilla. That's why I don't like him. I do think he has a lot of potential, but it's just really yet to be seen with Noxus. That could change in this next meta. Who knows? Followers 1 goes to PNZ, and so does Power Card. So they actually ended up getting 3 of the 1s, which is more than any other class. Ionia managed to squeak out getting 0 1s, which is interesting, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later. All right, so again, this may be another scary picture for people, but I wanted to kind of put this into a visual so you could see kind of where different classes' strengths and weaknesses fell. And mainly the real reason I did this was to kind of see which classes or which regions had things weighted, more towards one side. So here's what I mean by that. So there's really 4 types of decks in most major card games. You have aggro, you have mid-range, you have control, and you have combo. And there's kind of a circle of, one beats the other, kind of like a rocks, paper, scissors type thing going on. And you also have kind of like a color wheel. Each one of those can be paired with another one for kind of a sub-archetype, right? And those sub-archetypes have certain matchups where, one's usually going to win. And that's kind of a more basic card game type ideology. And ideally, at least for me anyways, every region or class in a card game should be able to build every type of those decks reasonably. That's in a perfect world. That's not going to happen. You're going to have, classes that are just terrible at certain things because most of their cards are geared for a specific thing. They're geared towards burn. They're geared towards control. They're geared towards OTK. Special shout out to OTKs, which to me is kind of like a fifth archetype. So really here, what I want you guys to see is I put some percentages. You can see top 3 and top 2 in every category. And what that is the total percentage of the 100%, taking into account all categories, that the top 3 categories contribute to. And what that shows is that specific region, theoretically, is better off playing towards those 3 strategies. Whereas if it's a lower figure, that region is a little bit more versatile and can play multiple different strategies and deck types. So, as an example, Freljord is perfect, right? So, Freljord got a 45% for its top 3 categories. And you can see the only one that was lower was Ionia. And considering both of their types, and Shadow Isles even got a 48.6, which is number 3. All 3 regions played pretty well during the first beta, and they could all play a lot of different decks. Now, again, Shadow Isles, I think, competitively, really just has the Ephemeral deck that I think is truly competitive. But there are a lot of viable like tier 2 and tier 3 decks for Shadow Isles, like Spider, Aggro, and stuff like that. So you can kind of see with that lower percent, it's because they have other categories that are also decently ranked that they can still build decks around. Now on the flip side, you go to something like P&Z, Noxus, or even Demacia. Demacia is actually kind of right on the border of 50%, which is interesting. But if you go to P&Z and Noxus specifically, they're very heavily weighted. If you look at Noxus, combo, aggro, and then burst spells, right? And burst spells for me kind of fall into combo just because they can be played so quickly, and most combo strategies are going to have some sort of burst spells involved. To me, what that says is that Noxus is better suited playing a combo aggro strategy as opposed to trying to integrate some of the other stuff in there. So this isn't perfect. It is something that I'm continuing to work on. I thought about adding something like separate categories for fast and slow spells. I do also realize that when I'm talking about deck strategies and underlying deck archetypes, that obviously I'm kind of lumping combo, aggro, and mid-range, which and control, which are all deck types, with card types, champions, spells, and followers. So I do also understand there's kind of a mix there. I do still think that the ideology stands true because you can base a deck on champions. You can base a deck on followers. That might not be the, quote unquote strategy just because everybody coins decks as a control deck or an aggro deck. But I do still think it shows where you can put your focus towards. So with that said, why do I think Freljord won out in this instance? And I really think it's because of how versatile the class is. So obviously, if you look at the rankings of everything, they have 6, 6, 6, 5, 4, 4, 4, 4, 1. All right, so there's really only one category that they have a deficiency in. And to be honest, all of the other categories, when you actually think about the cards that they have access to, there's a lot of different deck types that are viable as tier 1 and 2. You have something like a Poro deck, you have something like a control deck, you have something like a Frostbite deck, you have something like a mid-range deck, which you can kind of combo with Braum, with Noxus, and turn into a self-damage combo deck. So like, there's a lot of different strategies that Freljord can use to its advantage, which is why I think overall they ended up beating out Shadow Isles, which I'm sure everybody just instant, Shadow Isles is the best region. According to this, it's not. And Shadow Isles is definitely still up there. And the reason I think they tied with Ionia is, again, I think because Ionia is very versatile. It's far more versatile than Shadow Isles. If you look at Shadow Isles, their bottom 3 is 1, 2, 2. Ionia's bottom 3 is 2, 3, 3. Now, it's only marginally better, but it still goes to show that, generally speaking, all the categories, they have decent scores in. With that said, I do think there is a huge discrepancy in the top 3 versus the bottom 3. Right? Noxus, Piltover, and Zon, and Demacia all scored significantly lower. So if we go back to this sheet, the wonderful spreadsheet, I will undo the color fill. We see Freljord won out, Ionia was second, and Shadow Isles was tied for second. As I was doing these rankings, I could obviously see that Freljord was starting to become the #1 region. And I was like totally like 100% okay, Shadow Isles, they're going to be number 2 then. And come to find out, it didn't end up being the case. They actually tied for second, and I do think that's a tribute to Ionia's versatility. And you can see the discrepancy of PNZ, Demacia, and Noxus. You know, PNZ is just super, super low. So I'm not sure what's going to happen in the next beta with PNZ. I really hope they do much better. Noxus would be next. I do think they have a lot of potential in Noxus, but right now they're not the greatest overall region. And Demacia, I think a lot of people would argue that they're higher than, you know, 4th on the list, but I think they're kind of a one-trick wonder right now. They're really just the Fiora deck, right? And they do have Lucian, which I really do feel like Lucian, some sort of Lucian Senna, you know, quick attack, you know, renew your attack token over and over again deck, like, you know, whatever you want to call it. I do think that will be a thing. As kind of a hyper aggro deck, possibly. And honestly, I really do hope that becomes a thing, because I do think the Lucian Senna interaction is one of the coolest in the game. It plays to the lore of League of Legends, so I do really hope that happens. And that is it. Those are the rankings. That's the final word. Yes, it is Freljord. If you're disappointed, I apologize. Let me know in the comments why you're disappointed, why you disagree. If you're excited it's Freljord, hell yeah. I love Freljord. I love Braum. I love the Noxus Freljord deck, which I also have another video of. Link in the description below and up top. So definitely check that out if you're looking for a cool combo deck to play. But as always, I am super curious to hear what you guys think about these 6 regions, especially because we're getting so close to the beta and everything's going to probably get changed. Obviously, there's going to be the card changes that come out just before the beta is released. Looking forward to that. So I appreciate you watching. Until next time, stay positive. Peace out.